Okay. Sorry. Let's start. Ah, no. Let's restart. No. No. Restart. Sorry. You press enter once, not 3 times. Okay. Now this machine is broken. Okay. This machine is now broken. Sorry. Go away. Let's try this again, children. Right. We say a new virtual machine. Fine. Yes. 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 SD. Dog. Good. Go for it. Fine. We press enter once, not 3 times. The first question it will ask you is what your keyboard looks like. So if your keyboard looks like a US English keyboard, you just pick the first one. But we also have a lot of other keyboards. I don't know what a Sudanese keyboard is supposed to look like. If someone shows me what a Sudanese keyboard looks like, I could make it ask for a Sudanese keyboard here. I don't think we have any Arabic keyboards. I don't know what this keyboard is. Actually, I do know, but never mind. So we don't have Arabic keyboards. So the easiest is just say default, and you press enter once. Everything needs a name. So this is your host name on the network. So we'll just call this one. Okay, my keyboard is a bit strange. So we'll just give it a name. Any name will do. Your name is always good. I will just choose trouble.sd0.sd, and we press ah. So my keyboard is very jumpy. And then you press enter 3 times, and it will install FreeBSD. This is hilarious. No. This is one of these amusing features of VMware on my laptop, is when I have a projector plugged in, the keyboards get ghost keys. So let's do this again. The 3rd time it will work. There we go. Fine, fine, fine. Okay. Go. Okay. We do the default key map, and we say.
And is it just your tracks?
Fine. All right. Then it will ask you what you would like to install. So by default, we will install the operating system, and if you are on a 64-bit machine, we will also install 32-bit compatibility libraries, so you can run 32-bit software on your 64-bit laptop. So if you are happy with the defaults, you just say OK. But you might want to also install extra documentation. If you want to go and by default, we install useful documentation. If you want more documentation, like articles and handbooks and several papers and books, you can say doc as well, and you'll get another gigabyte or so of documentation. If you want full source codes, you can install that straight from the USB stick, so that you can start working on FreeBSD straight away. And if you want to debug your operating system, you can turn that on as well. But by default, we'll install 32-bit compatibility libraries, and we'll install the ports tree, which we've seen, which allows you to install 30,000 third-party packages when you want them. So we'll just do that. We'll pick the default. We'll say yes, go wild, go for it. So we'll just say okay. Then it will ask you what you would like to do with your hard disk. So FreeBSD, as I said, supports 2 file systems. We support UFS, the traditional Unix file system, and ZFS. The problem with ZFS is ZFS wants a lot of memory. ZFS will take all the memory you have. We'll try ZFS on VMware later, but just to get you familiar with FreeBSD and get it working, we'll install it with UFS, just to make it work, and then we'll add ZFS later on. So first make it work, then make it work better. If you have exotic requirements, or you would like to have a little bit more control over what your file system looks like, you can tell FreeBSD that I would like to manually change things. To do that, we're not going to do this. If you really want to do everything on hard mode, you can get a shell, and then FreeBSD can run, and then you just type all the things and you install manually. We're not going to do that now. We're just going to say auto, and with auto, FreeBSD will partition your disk in a way that makes sense and give you a reasonable file system layout. All of this is also, I saw some of you taking photos, all of this is in the FreeBSD handbook. If I can have a window, and if I can type. The FreeBSD handbook, which you are all encouraged to look for. It's the first hit for the words FreeBSD handbook on any search engine. The first chapter of this handbook, or the second chapter it turns out, is installing FreeBSD, and all of the things I have just showed you are explained in detail in the handbook. So you can go through this and read up on all the fuzzy details at your leisure. So we're just going to say, auto UFS. We do that. There we go. And then it will ask you, would you like to use the entire disk, or would you like to share it with other operating systems? We don't like sharing, and we're in a virtual machine. Except for you. We're in a virtual machine. We just use the entire virtual machine. So we just say the entire disk. If you wanted to put FreeBSD in a partition to exist together with something like Linux or Windows, you can do that. If you have a spare partition, you can put FreeBSD in there, but then you will have to fight with the bootloader, and you might find that you can boot either FreeBSD or something else, but not both. We can help you with that, but if it breaks, you get to keep all the pieces. Okay? So we'll say entire disk. There we go. There are several ways you can partition a disk. FreeBSD supports Apple hardware. FreeBSD supports traditional BSD disk labels and all sorts of other exciting things which may or may not make sense. If you are on a PC, which you are, you just choose MBR, DOS partitions, you just accept the defaults and you say yes. If you are on a modern server with a modern EFI BIOS, or you have a lot of disks, you probably want to use GPT rather than MBR. But on a normal laptop, virtual machine, standard boring hardware, you want the standard boring, B in MBR is for boring, a standard boring MBR. So we say enter, and then this is what it's going to do. Don't worry about these things. It just says you have a 20 gigabyte disk. You have a 20 gigabyte disk. We are going to put on this disk a master boot record. Behind that, we are going to install BSD, and we're going to give you one file system called the root, and we're going to give you a little bit of swap space. By default, we choose half of our memory for swap space. That's a sensible default, and this is what the installer will do. So if we say finish, FreeBSD will start installing. So we're just going to say finish. No, finish. And then, are you sure? Are you really, really, really sure everything in this virtual machine on this virtual hard disk will be gone forever? It will be irretrievably lost if you have booted your laptop from the disk, from the USB stick, and you are doing this on real hardware. Everything that is on your laptop will be irretrievably lost. It will be in the void. It will be gone forever. So if you do this on real hardware, be sure that you actually want to do this. Are we sure? Yes, we are going to commit to this, and then FreeBSD will go and install. It doesn't take very long. So FreeBSD goes off and installs all the things. And while it is doing this, we can read things and ask questions. Yes? Have you broken your laptop? Or not yet? Not yet? All right. Yes. So you mean if you're boring laptop, you choose NVR instead of boring. If you order server certificate, this will work on you. So come up Okay. Yes, 1 moment. Once this is done, I'll finish it here, and then I'll come and help everyone around. Right. Once FreeBSD is done installing, it wants a root password. This is the password for the root user, which you use to get magic superpowers. So you probably want a secure password, and you probably don't want to forget the password. So I will just set a very secure password of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would never do this in production, but if I set a secure password, I will forget it. And, yeah. So once it's done that, FreeBSD wants to talk to a network, and it will ask you about every network card you might have in your computers. This virtual machine has one network interface, so let's configure that one. And then it also wants to know what time it is. We are in. Last time I checked, we are in Africa, and FreeBSD knows about Sudan. FreeBSD knows about 2 Sudans even. We are in the one and only, the true Sudan. There we go. Does CAT look reasonable? Yes, it does. You are no longer in eat, you are now in cat. We are in the correct time zone. FreeBSD knows that Sudan has moved. I'm not sure if all the Sudanese know yet, but that looks reasonable. and then you can set the date at the time. Fine, everything is okay. And then FreeBSD will ask you what you would like to start when your computer reboots with FreeBSD. So by default, we will start SSH running, so you can log in to your computer. You can also run a local DNS resolver if you want to. By default, we don't, but you can do that. We have something called moused, so you can copy paste things with the mouse if you want that. We can run NTP for synchronizing clocks. If you want that, you can set that on. And PowerD will try to run more slowly if you're not doing much work, so you save electricity. And dumpdev means that if the operating system crashes, we save some data so that you can tell us, the FreeBSD community, what you did when it broke. So we usually like to leave this on, but if you don't think your computer is ever going to break, you can turn that off. Yeah. Yeah, but we'll come and help you. So I'm just going through this, and then I'll come and help. So just take it easy. So we do this, and then you just, this is some more options you have. You can turn things on and off as you like, but just the default will do. And then you can add extra users if you like. We'll not do that on my run through here. And then we just say exit, done. And then we can go into the system to make any changes before we reboot, but we're not going to do that, so we just, fine. FreeBSD is done. Would you like to reboot, or would you do a CD? So that's all there is to it. And now I will help all of you do it here. Well, both of us will help you. Who wants help? All of you? You were first. Yes, where are you? Oh, you're finished already. Okay, good. Who needs help? Can we help anyone? Don't be shy, we don't bite. Would you like to configure access? Sure, yes, why not? Can I try access? Why don't we just say first? It's going to try, but it's going to stop trying if science doesn't work. Or yes, you like things. And then this is your DNS configuration. You can just leave it blank. Well, really, you say there we go.
It doesn't work for me. I'm sure we would have
that is your username. This is what you can tell us what your name is if you want. And then you say like false space. Eventually it will ask you. Everything is fine. There we go. So now you can go and say it. And then there we go. It'll ask you some questions.
When you get your file from your ISO file. From the website, I will give you a full introduction.
The last question is now the question. So now you say yes. There we go. And then if you want to add another one, you say no, or if you one user is okay, or you want to add one for your friends, no. Just say exits, and then and then VMware or VirtualBox, not well, we should tell it to hard now rather than oh no, so this one is the same. License.
Here, this is the floor. Anyone have any problems? Anyone need help? Don't be shy.
Bear with us. We're trying to get everyone on the same sort of stage. It's easier if everyone has the same thing. You can do whatever. I would say yes, because I like IPv6. But if there is no IPv6 on the network, it's going to try for a while. And then we will find IPv6. Everyone will say and then username and password. This is your username and your password. Tell me your password. You can use the defaults, or if you have strong views of another number, you can have another number. I would accept the default, I would say enter. And I would say enter. Unless you have strong views, then you would say enter. Just keep answering the default. This is your computer. You can decide. There are no wrong answers. Your machine. Now, 99% of this is wire. Oh, yes. You say yes. Secure. Say yes. Oh, okay. Okay, so you only have wireless on this one. Okay, so if you say okay here, let's say no. Let's say no. Say yes here. So if you are on real hardware, there are two ways of running your clock. Either run it on local time, or you can run it on UTC. For real hardware, you can run it on UTC. Real hardware. Just the last one. This one. So it's yes, because otherwise it will take a very long time to start. So you don't network yet. We'll fix your network. You can add more users. Say yes here. And then this is your username. This is you, and then your password. We'll ask you some questions. We'll ask you some questions. I'm going to help you out to do a little run through here again. So, does everyone almost have FreeBSD installed? You're still fighting with users? Is anyone stuck? Is anyone stuck somewhere and nothing is working? You're stuck. I'll come and help you, and then I'll come back to you on real hardware. You're stuck.
Or what are you trying to install? Or
Everyone is FreeBSD, so almost. We will get there. Anyone else stuck? Anyone else stuck or is everyone else okay? Yes, it is. I will show one more time. So, okay, so everyone now has FreeBSD, I hope. Well, let me check the over again. Always fun to FreeBSD. Oh, okay, no, that's false. Oh, this is fun. Ah, yes, we go. Wow. That's fine. It's doing all things. Yes. Oh, no, yeah, it works. It's, yes. Oh, no, everything is okay. Yes. Oh, wow. Everything is good. Only try this. Oh. I was okay, good. So, you don't have network. This is only wireless? Yes. Only wireless, okay. Yes, I will help you with the wireless. Wireless won't work. But that's not a problem for the list. You are good. You can carry on. Okay, you are installed. Yes. Who else is stuck? You have installed. You're good. You're fine. I will help you with your wires. You are good. What do you? This one. It's running on 192 system. So you should be able to SSH to it. Yes. Yes, space. Running SSH, that's good. So you should be able to talk unless you have Windows firewall. Yes, firewall between your Windows machine and the virtual machine. You need to turn the firewall. I don't have to do that.
Replaying everything and it was doing.
Yes.
So I just pressed the icon and
Thank you.
it's working.
I will bring more tomorrow.
There you go.
Oh, hello. Airplane. Yes. Tell me how that works. Because I am a stupid monkey. Airplay display. Enter airplay code for Apple TV. Okay. So the code is incorrect.
Okay.
Okay. Problem. You have a disk problem.
Oh, can you try again? It shows me here that
Incorrect.
disconnect and try to. Wait, the code is 1564.
1564. No.
Okay, it's 1626.
166. Nope. Should I disconnect it?
Yeah.
166. Ah.
Wait. Okay. So now what I will do is that you give me your cable. Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. One copy is cable. Thank you. You're not using extended display, right?
No.
It's the same thing clone there.
No. I'm
Extending.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's okay. I'm capturing whatever you're projecting.
So I'm capturing whatever is on there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure if that's very exciting to you.
It's for the slides.
Oh, yeah. But I don't do slides, or I don't do many slides. Okay. Oh, good. Excellent. Okay. All right. We can almost eat. Let me check our friend in the back here. Done. Oh, it's still not done. Common problems. I will run through this again slowly, and then we shall eat, and then after lunch we'll do ZFS, but actually do something with our computers. Where were we? We were here, so I will do this again. Let's power this off. Shut down. Up, let's go away. Let's delete this. Alright, so common problems we had. So we create a new one. I'll start from the beginning as well. Sure. I'm going to customize. Sure. A bit more memory. Okay. So we said install. Everyone got this? That question was easy. Nobody had trouble with this question. Nobody had trouble with what keyboard to use. That was also easy. We gave ourselves a name, FreeBSD, and that was fine as well. We said use the defaults here, and everyone was fine with that. We used UFS. Some people went for other options, and that went badly. So we go for UFS, and we say we'd like to use the entire disk because we're in a virtual machine and it doesn't really matter. Then some people have problems with this on normal PC hardware. We use MBR, we use master boot records. If you have a newer machine, if you're trying to install on a real hardware which is newer than, say, the last 5 years, you probably want to say GPT. If you are on a normal computer, normal PC, you say MBR. The system is smart enough to give you the right option, so don't play with it. Just say just accept the default. Just take what it gives you. It wanted MBR, take MBR. If it wants GPT, take GPT. And then we say finish, and we say commit, and it's going to install. Goes. Takes a moment. On my laptop, it's quite fast. On some laptops, take a little longer. If your laptop crashes in the middle of this, you will have to start over. If your laptop is not on electricity and it runs out of power, you will have to plug it in and you'll have to start over. If lightning strikes and your laptop catches fire while this is happening, you'll have to find one without flames coming out of it. So we just do this. We go for this, we go for this, we go for this. Alright, here we go. It asks for a password, and please remember the password you give it. And use a secure password. The next thing is we want some network connectivity. We'll just say OK. Do we want to try IPv4? We want to try IPv4. Do we want to do DHCP? If you have a fixed IP address, if you're on a real network, you probably want to say no. But for your virtual machine, for the purpose of this exercise, we will say yes. It will try to get a DHCP lease, and it will hopefully work. Do we want IPv6? Of course we want IPv6. But since our virtual machine does not have IPv6, we can just say no here. And then you can configure some network settings for DNS. If DHCP worked, it will fill it in for you with reasonable settings. If DHCP did not work, or you had a static IP address, or it's your network, it's not my network, it's your network, you might have to fill these things in. This is what goes in your rc.conf or in your resolve.conf file eventually. So I will just say OK. And then time zone, we were in Africa, and we were in Sudan. We have not left yet. And we like Central African time. The dates, you can set, if the date on your laptop is wrong, you can give it a different date. But if the date is right, you can just say skip here a couple of times, and it's fine. So here you have a bunch of options. So by default, FreeBSD will start SSHD, so you can talk to your new computer over the internet once it's running. The other options, you can turn them on if you like. If you don't trust your DNS server, you can run your own DNS server. If you want to synchronize your clock with different time, you want to run NTP. Moused and PowerD you can just leave off because you generally don't use them. So we'll just say fine. These options, there's a couple of security options you can set here. So you can hide processes from other users. So if you have multiple users on your machine, you can hide them from each other if you want that. Same thing for groups. If you have your users in different groups, you can hide groups. So these are all different security options, and you can turn any of these on you like clean the temp file system when you start. If you like this, you can do this. If you store all of your data in /temp, you probably don't want to do this. So I just leave all of these as a default because that is easier. So we just say OK. Then it will ask you if you want to add more users. I generally say yes, please. So say yes. and you press enter once, not 8 times. And you put the username. This is usually your name. If your keyboard is broken, fun things happen. And you just answer the questions until it asks you for a password. So you type a secure password, and then eventually this question you actually have to answer. So the FreeBSD operating system feels that you need to do a little bit of thinking. So you need to actually answer this question with yes. And then, do we want to add any more users for the purpose of this lab? No, we don't. We just say no. No. We type no correctly. And then at the end, we can do all sorts of other fun things, but we'll just say exit. And then it will reboot. Maybe. Virtual machine, we say restart, fine, and then it will restart on the disk, hopefully. Oh. And then if you did it correctly and you installed on the right disk, it will actually boot into FreeBSD. If you answer the questions wrong, it will all be broken. But eventually, you will end up with a system that, let me just reboot this one, which actually does work. So eventually, come on. Eventually it will boot and you will have a login prompt. Eventually. Come on. This is slow today. Come on. Why? Eventually. Eventually, you will all be here on. Why is everything so slow? Why is my computer slow? Okay, my computer is being very, very slow. I don't know why. Eventually, you have a login prompt, and you can log in as the user you configured, and everything will be fine. Is everyone roughly at this stage now that you have a FreeBSD in VMware and you can log into it? Does anyone not have this? You do not have this. Okay. Anyone else? You are not there yet. Is anyone else in trouble? All right, we'll come and help you, and then I'll help you. It should be lunchtime, maybe. I don't know where the boss has gone. I will help those of you who are stuck, but it is 12:30. It's time to pray and then to eat, and we should come back at 1:30. So 1 hour, we come back, and we talk about ZFS and about what we're going to do tomorrow and Tuesday. Okay? So you have 1 hour to pray and eat, and then we come back and we continue. Okay? And if anyone has trouble, you can come and get me. I will come and help you, unless you want to go pray first. Pray first.
It's the same dimension, or it's not the dimension in
The dimension is 85. Can you do it today? Do you want me to send you the logo? Ah, the new logo. Did you send you the new logo? This is yes, this is
Your side of the break. Okay, so you bridge the wireless. Okay. Yes. I don't think that this is a wireless access. Yes, so this thing is being smart. So that's what it is. So that's all fine. It is being smart. So this thing is being smart, and it feels it should only it will only pass packets after you engage. You can configure manually, but it really what it is that it needs. Well, we tried counting it before. Well, you've got the same